Welcome to Board Game Empire. We're going to be doing an overview and review of Meadow by Rebel Studios. So this is a 1 to 4 player game. We won't go over the solo version because we didn't play that. We played as a 3 player game, and basically, from what I've read on this game, 2 player, I don't think there's enough movement from what we've read, but we haven't played a 2 player game. So the 3 player game, I will say the market moved a lot. Cards were being refreshed a lot, and that's one of the complaints I saw on a 2 player game. Just wanted to put that out there. But basically, for the setup on this, you will build your little deck holders. There's 4 of them, and I call them the compass cards because they're north, south, east, and west. You start out with west, south, and east, and you fill up the columns. You can see the arrows that help guide you where to go. So west goes in this first column, south goes in the second 2, and east goes in the 4th column there. And as people take cards, you just immediately refresh the card with the new one from the corresponding deck. Then once you get to the halfway point, as far as the rounds, it's played over 6 rounds, you would then totally clear out the market, put the north deck instead, and then fill it again with west, north, and east, and then you continue playing as normal. So like I said, it is played over 6 rounds. Then you give each player the color of their choice. There's 5 of in a 4-player game, there's not all of them, but in a 3-player game, there's 5 of these path tokens, I think they're called, that you're used to either place on the main board or on the campfire board. And that's how that is your actions in this game. That's what drives the actions. So based on what symbol is on your path marker token, the one that's put into the board, I guess just to say, because you could see these are the point, so it's the top part. This one is the bottom, so it's the bottom part, the bottom symbol that you go by on the campfire board. On these, they're all the same except for the number for the main board. They have 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then there's one that is a question mark.
Right, it's right here.
So there's a question mark one. The question mark one is basically you could choose any of the actions on the previous. Well, on this board, it means you could choose any card in that row or column based on where you stuck your. Like here, you're choosing from this column. From here, you're choosing from that row. So if it has a 4 on it, you have to count 1, 2, 3, 4 cards from your path token. That's the card you can take.
Like this one's a 3, so you count 1, 2, 3.
Right. And then you pick up that card, replace it with the corresponding deck, and then you can immediately play that card or any card from your hand if you meet the criteria. So that's the way you're able to play cards and collect more cards. The campfire board has symbols where it allows you to get road tokens, which are these. And those allow you to play these landscape cards. You have to have a road token to be able to play another landscape card. So it's a balancing game of having enough road tokens to play the landscape cards you have. But you will be playing more of the cards down here with the animals, because those are more of your driving force are these symbols that you have to play cards. So you're going to you can have a max of 10 columns in your meadow. So not including these, just of these cards. And basically these cards all reflect, if there's symbols down, like this is the main symbol that you will be playing on in your meadow. But down here are the symbols that you are required to have already in your meadow to be able to play that card. If they don't have that or a number in the bottom left, they're a ground card, so they would just go, they're like the starting card of that column, the ground cards. They are some that also reference certain grounds that you need to have to be able to play cards. So it's a set collection game where you have to have certain symbols to play certain cards, and the points that you're requiring are here in the bottom left. So they go from anywhere from 1 to 4 that we saw. And obviously the ones with 4 points, you have to have more symbols than the ones with 1 point. And you're just trying to acquire the most points by the end of 6 rounds. Another way to get points is through these goal markers. They correspond, and they're random. They have more than just this amount. They're random that you're just putting them out before you play the game. Like that one requires a flower, and then this one requires a butterfly. So as you could see, I was able to get that first by having a flower and a butterfly symbol in my meadow. But to be able to claim that, you would have to first place your path token in one of these slots, and it is limited. In a 3-player game, there's only 4 slots, so you got to get there quick to get it, because Anthony had the same symbols, and he was able to get it first. And then you would just put you have 3 gold, or what are these called? What are these little things called? Bonus tokens. They're numbered 2, 3, and 4. So your lowest one goes first. So you would put your number 2 bonus token there, and that's worth 2 points at the end of the game. So you want to pay attention when you're collecting these symbols to see, because you're placing it in between 2 of these symbols on here. So if you have the 2 that it's surrounding this spot, you would put your gold token there. So you're constantly also paying attention to see if you meet any of those goals, and hopefully there's a slot open that you can swoop in there and get it. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait till the next round and hope that you get there first. And that is the only way to get points, is by playing cards in your meadow with the points on them. They're also on some of the landscape ones, and by getting the goals. So basically, during the round, you're taking turns. There's a first player marker. They put 1 path token on either board, do the action, goes to the next person. And you're just doing this until everyone's played all 5 of their path tokens. At the end of the round, you take all your path tokens back, and then you pass the first player marker and move the round. This is the round tracker. You would just move it to the next rock, and then you just continue doing the same thing for 6 rounds and then you count everyone's points and see who was won. They also have these little envelopes. We did open this one because it is Christmas time, and we just happened to play this on Christmas Day because I have a long vacation break, and it's our downtime. So we play games that we want to play. We actually purchased this game, and they ended up sending it to us as well. So we have 2 copies, but we had actually initially purchased this game, and we hadn't gotten around to playing it, so we decided to go ahead and play it during our Christmas break. But it came with, they have different criteria that they suggest waiting to open these envelopes, and they have additional cards. I want to say it had like 10. I can't remember how many cards it had in it.
Yeah, a lot.
They don't add any new mechanics to the game. It's just themed cards. So these were Christmas themed. Trying to see, I know we used a lot of them. I can't see them right off the top of my head.
Here's one of them.
Oh yeah, so this is one of them. So it's a Christmas themed cards, and that was the Y one. There's one for first day of spring.
And it's not just landscapes, also like there's a deer one and different things.
There's one that adds different mechanics called the Envelope U Big Encounters. It adds the deer. The others do not add mechanics. And you don't have to follow this criteria. If you're not like us, we don't go anywhere. So
Yeah.
the odds of us going to a national park anytime soon is low.
We're not outdoorsy.
So supposedly you have to wait till open envelope T till you visit a national park. Otherwise, you could just add it when you want to. Another one is after a trip to the forest and you saw a wild animal. First day of spring, Christmas, and they suggest opening on December 24th. So there's a total of 5 envelopes that that offer more cards that add to this game. You just shuffle them into the corresponding decks. So it was kind of fun having the Christmas theme because we're playing on Christmas Day. So that was kind of cool. So I think I covered the basic overview of it.
Yeah, there's some key components though. If you can't play a card because of the card, the bottom, you just put here and then allows you to play a card. When you do this, you get to pick. You grab 3 and then you pick 1. You put the rest on the bottom. You're not able to play a card if you use that. This one allows you to use any of the effects. Same restriction if you do use that effect. And so those are just
special actions. Is what they call them.
So,
you could choose any of the special actions 1 through 4 of that path token. And there's only one that allows you to play cards on the campfire board, which is number 4. Yeah. It allows you to play 2 meadow cards at that time, but you don't get any cards. You're just playing. The best way if you want to keep playing cards is to play on the main board because you're drawing a card, playing a card if you can. Yep. So the mechanics, I will say, are a little. It was rough for that. The first game's a little rough because
there's a lot of iconography that you have to just keep remembering.
Right.
And there's no player aid, so
and so we've struggled a little bit just kind of grasping the mechanics fully.
And without a player aid and one rule book, it's you kind of have to. You're either asking questions constantly, or you're.
So we were referencing the rule book a lot, and we had to flip through it a lot because it didn't have everything all in one little synopsis. So we were flipping through it a lot. But I will say, after your first game, you do have it down. Like by round 4, we had it down. But of course, then the game was over 2 rounds later. Mm-hmm. But if we don't play this game for a while, we're going to have to learn it again. But
I think the second time will be easier.
Yeah, after your first game, after the first 3 or 4 rounds, you've got it. It's just a little bit of a struggle bus at first, just learning the mechanics and, like you said, the rules of play for in your meadow, in the campground versus main board, because the mechanics are different for each one slightly on how the actions go. And then, of course, knowing what all the icons mean on the path tokens was just the little things that there were a few things that kind of tripped us up a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you some pauses about the mechanics in game?
What did you say?
What are some pauses that you liked about the mechanics in game?
The artwork is beautiful. I will say you could tell they put a lot of thought and time into this theme. Whoever developed this game, I think, is really into nature and really into this type theme. They even have, I call it the encyclopedia of the animals. They have a book that they include that has every card listed. It talks about, and I know that took some time, it also tells you more information about each animal that's shown on the card. Their habitat and little things about them. And then it has another column to the right of that you can catalog, like if you're really into nature, of when you saw that particular animal, where, and the date, if you want to get that into it. So this would be a good game for a person that likes to play games that's really into nature and really into those type of things, and they would get probably a lot more out of it than we did for that reason, because they are really into this theme, and it lets them to engross themselves even further into learning about the nature that's depicted in these. But so I would say the components and the cards were definitely went above and beyond.
So what are some improvements or negatives that you
I do think the game's a little long, because I would have preferred it to be maybe 4 rounds, because it is a little, I mean, you are doing the same thing every round. You're playing your 5 path markers and starting over. So it got a little long for us, especially in a 3-player game, because there's a lot of paralysis analysis of, especially,
paralysis.
or whatever. I said it backwards. But anyway, there's a lot of that, especially a few rounds in, because you're trying to figure out which symbols you want, which cards would be best for you to not. Because once you cover up symbols, those symbols are gone. So figuring out which symbols you don't want to cover, just calculating everything, it kind of slows the game down. So by the time you get to that fourth round, it's like, this feels a little long to me. But that's that. And I didn't like the part. I wish I know this is part of the game, but was a little frustrating on the campfire board that there were only 4 slots, because it kind of, to me, it bottlenecks the game in that sense. It makes it to where really you're mostly doing the main board and you can barely do the campfire board. So that makes it, to me, a little too repetitive in that sense, because you don't have as many choices. I wish there was more slots on the campfire board, whereas there's tons of slots on the main board. To me, that would make it a little bit more competitive and more fun if there were more, if you could visit this more, that I think.
Okay, so what's your overall total?
I would give it a 7.
Okay, so for me, the positives, I really like the artwork, like the design, like the mechanics of the main board. I think the campfire board, pretty much the mechanics are more interesting. There's more strategy to it, more different things you do. I think they could incorporate even more. I think they made it a little bit too simplistic. They could incorporate some more strategy into the campfire, where you could do more intricate and intense like play. I think it was a little too simplistic for an area that you can only go to a certain amount of times. I think if you're going to do that, you're going to want to make it more interesting and have a way more impact in the game. So I think that is something that could be improved on. So, but overall, very, very, I like the campfire and the artwork and everything, the design. I like some of the mechanics, like the landscape, and also how you pretty much, just build your patterns and stuff in your set collection. So for some of the negatives, I already spoke about the campfire. I think that there's also needs to be a player aid, just simply for the actions, and then also some of the actions that kind of limit you, like the 3 cards where but that's part of the actions, and then also like this one here, you can only have 10 of the what's this,
these 10 columns.
Yeah, 10 columns. Like those simple rules could be put in the player aid that would simplify and make the game flow so much smoother, so you don't have to look at the rule book. But just that's it. And then also probably like reduce the rounds like 1 or 2, and like she said, give it more options for the campfire. But overall total, I give it a 7.5. And this is the first edition. I mean, second edition, a lot of times they incorporate some of the stuff that people spoke about, and they also change some stuff, upgrade components, do some different things. So for our first edition, I think it's great. I think it could be better improved on, and it would appeal more to the masses, because I think some of the more advanced gamers are going to be kind of limited because of lack of gameplay. It also feels like a solitaire game, so there is no take that aspect to the game. So I think if you like solitaire, you're going to really enjoy this. If you are more of a take that type of gamer, which we are, it was kind of missing a lot of stuff, because the campfire didn't have enough where it could manipulate the game. So kind of if it's solitaire, I think it should incorporate that. But overall, it's a good game. I just think it needs a little bit of slight improvements. So, anything you want else?
Can't think of anything else. No, I can't think of anything else. I wrote some notes, but I think I covered all of them.
All right. So that's our final thoughts. If you like this video, please subscribe. Social media is down below in the description. We will have a link where to buy the game, and we'll see you in the next video.